Is our Edgewater College Choir, EC Voices, and we are heading off to the Big Sling Festival tomorrow. It's one of the big occasions for the choir every year, and it is essentially a competition. They call it a festival, but there are about 72 choirs from all around the Auckland region that are coming together over these next 3 days and performing their programs in the Auckland Town Hall. And there are, throughout the country, over 280 choirs from different schools all over the nation that are competing in this festival. And so we're heading along there tomorrow, and as part of the festival we have to present a program of pieces, and that's usually 3 pieces of no more than 10 minutes total. And there are categories within this competition, essentially. And so the first category that there is their New Zealand works, or New Zealand or Pacifica pieces, that have been composed and written for choirs. And so this year we've chosen a beautiful Samoan piece called Loto No, which is just a beautiful hymn about Samoa and God's blessings on that country. And so we'll be singing that one as our New Zealand and Pacifica piece. And so that will be our first piece we'll present to you today. The second piece is what they considered in a category which is choral art music, which is a fancy term for just usually pieces that are really, really old. Pieces that were written hundreds of years ago that were sung in beautiful old cathedral churches by the choirs of those times. And they were designed to be sung in those situations, those beautiful echoing big churches. And so this year we've chosen a piece called Heilig, 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 which is German for holy, 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 holy is the Lord. And so it's a very religious text, and a lot of the music back then was, because they obviously were in the churches. And so that's been quite a challenge for us to learn some German and to put this piece together for that. The third and final piece really comes under any umbrella that you want it to. And so this year I've chosen a sort of gospel, spiritual, traditional song really, that's come out of America, called Keep Your Lamps. And the line is keep your lamps trimmed and burning, which essentially was 2 meanings to this song. The first meaning was a biblical text from Matthew chapter 25, if you want to go have a look at that one. There's a story there. And it's also wrapped around this concept of, or not concept, but what happened in America in the slave trade and slave era, and sort of really bad, obviously, heinous times in American history, where these slaves were sold as property, and eventually they were freed. But along that journey, there were many that tried to escape and get free into the northern states of America. And there were people who lived in different towns and cities that were opening their homes to slaves that were freeing them, so they were trying to get to freedom, escaping. And so they would have these little lamps outside their homes. And if you were a slave and you were escaping and you were in the middle of the night, if you saw these little lamps shining in the windows of certain homes, you knew that that was a home that you could go and knock on the door, and they would hide you. And they would keep you safe until you would go on to the next journey to find that lamp. So this whole idea of keeping your lamps trimmed and burning, these little lamps that they would make sure were lit and were in these windows for the essentially for the slaves and for the freedom. Okay, so these are the 3 pieces that we're going to be singing. We'll sing them back to back, just like we have to tomorrow. So the first piece, our beautiful Samoan Loto. We have some soloists for this one, and Pepe, who will also be joined with Cindy and Marcy. Hope you enjoy.
Oh
heilig, heilig, heilig. Last performance, I didn't wait for Jared to get to his place, so we'll just give him a chance. Easy walking. Final piece is keep your lamps.
Keep your lights trimmed and burning.